we have a guest in the studio, and I don't want to keep him waiting any longer. So we're going to go ahead and do that now. And then we'll go ahead and get into some of our business. So please do welcome Mr. Jeff Callahan to the show.
Hello. I'm happy to be here. I got my mug.
Good evening.
Sip Scott. Yep.
My memes are coming to life.
Yes. If anybody didn't know, this is our wonderful guest, Jeff Callahan, who we were speaking of just a few, last show and the show before that. And we had a tremendous opportunity to have him on the show. And when he asked when, I was like, well, my goodness, let's not. Actually, Steven says, I don't want to wait because my baby's coming soon. So we got to get him on the show now.
Yeah.
So thank you for coming and hanging out with us this evening, Jeff. This is awesome.
Yeah. It's funny. I follow you guys on X, and I've clocked a couple of times that you guys have mentioned me on the show. And the last time, I think I just randomly, I was scrolling, if I'm not mistaken, and I think I saw one of my memes pop up on your show, and I was like, "What is that?" It's like, reached out to you guys, and I'm glad we were able to set it up.
That's awesome.
Thank you for being here.
That's how it goes. All right, Jeff. So I've thrown up the graphic here. This is you. Tell us all about yourself. Welcome to the show.
Yeah. So for people that don't immediately know me, my name is Jeff Callahan, and I am the author of Competence Maxxing, which is a book that is sweeping the nation, as I say. And reviewers have likened it to the new How to Win Friends and Influence People. People are calling it the Atomic Habits for People Skills, and many other complementary things on Amazon. And my backstory is throughout most of my life up to a certain point, I was painfully shy, had a speech impediment so bad I couldn't say my own name, which, as you might imagine, made connecting with people a little bit more difficult than it needed to be. Made we'll call it the availability of confidence near zero. And so at a certain point, this was through middle school, high school, even some of college, I realized, hey, I don't want to live the rest of my life like that. I'm planning on living a long time. I would like to get up near that 80-year mark that the president is celebrating today. And so went on a self-development binge, and lo and behold, I started to find out, look, I'm not the only person who has struggled with social confidence and people skills. Apparently a lot of people do. The only thing is that they typically don't talk about it, but they talk about it to me. And that's how I know it's a big, big issue. And over the last 10 years, 12 years actually, I've been running my company Become More Compelling, which I coach people, I think startup founders, many major leading companies, primarily STEM. And I coach people to have more social confidence, have better people skills so that they can live the kind of life that they want. Sometimes that's career oriented, and sometimes that's just their personal life. And the book is kind of like a zip file of my brain that you can listen to or you can read and learn all the knowledge that took me 20 years to learn. So that's the back of the cereal box for me.
That's the elevator pitch, and it's a good one. I'm inspired just listening to you. Stephen and I both received the audio copy. Thank you. I also ran out and I ran out to Amazon.com and got my copy there, and it arrived yesterday.
Nice.
So I'm already.
It's a good looking book.
It is very, very nice. And I'm listening already. I listened to the intro, and then I went forward and looked at the 20 things that you were talking about. So I'm going to kind of turn things over to you. And well, first of all, maybe we can actually ask you a few back and forth questions before we get into your teaching here, because I don't want to miss out on that part. If Stephen wants to jump in with a question, that's great, or I can either way.
I do have a question. I don't know how far ahead this is going to jump of anything you plan to share, but when it comes to getting the confidence to even teach people about confidence, how did that first? How did you run into that first time where you coached someone through it? Was that pretty organic, or how did that work? Hopefully, that's not too loaded of a
Yeah.
question.
Yeah, that's a good question. So, I'm thinking back to, some of my very, very first clients. And, I guess where it started was, I knew for a long time that I wanted to be some sort of entrepreneur, right? I remember reading the 4 Hour Work Week back in probably 2007. And there was just one little, I think it was literally a paragraph in there talking about how you could build a business around information. Like, something, how to do something that someone else might want to learn how to know and do. And I remember reading that, and I remember thinking, wow, that's possible. Like, it didn't even occur to me that that was possible. I thought if you're going to have your own business, you have a brick and mortar business, you sell some kind of good, right? And so that kind of blew my mind just reading that. And so I started thinking, well, what am I what am I good at? What am I able to teach? And there were several things that were good possibilities, but one of the things was, well, I overcame this sort of lack of confidence, if you will, and I started just getting curious and thinking, like, well, if I solved it, there are probably other people that would like it solved as well, and that was kind of the hypothesis. And then I started sort of poking around in forums in the internet, and turns out a lot of people want help with this. They just aren't all that public about it, and then when I started getting my first few clients, it was, at that point I didn't really have much of a system. I knew kind of large tent poles of like what needed to be done, but the I would say the system came later. In the beginning, it was just a lot of asking clients questions like what do you need help with? Oh, well, there's this situation and that situation and this and that, and then thinking of solutions on the fly. It's funny, my buddy and I send reels back and forth through each other, and there's one that we always end up sending when it's two panels. One panel is someone overthinking something, and then the next panel is a like a think a Top Gun Maverick, like a jet pilot, and he's reading a manual that says how to become a pilot. And so you have to, if you want to do something, like, you can just do things, right? And so part of it is you want to be competent at what you're doing, but you have to start. And the more overthinking and over optimizing you do, the um, the less good outcome you're probably going to get, because you're going to get stalled out. And so I remember back, 12 years ago, those first clients was very much a work in progress. And, I was able to help them in a profound way. Uh, but a lot of those first sort of cohorts of clients was simply asking them what they needed help with and finding a way to help them.
Nice.
Yeah,
That's
that's awesome.
exciting. Yeah.
It's to me, you've got that zero to hero success story going on there, Jeff. So that's a really neat thing, because it'd almost be kind of cool. I don't know if you have any videos or things from before and after kind of stuff, but that might even become a little weird now to go back and watch like things. But tell us a little bit about how the stutter thing worked and how you overcame that.
Yeah. So what's funny is if you listen closely, you'll see that I still hesitate over some words, but I'd say it's about 98% gone. And it's funny. I'm always reminded of when Scott Adams, our uh, mutual mutual friend, uh, when he had his spasmodic dysphonia, and like how limiting that was for him. And I could really identify with that quite a bit, just from the standpoint of not being able to communicate what you want to communicate. And I would uh I there are probably easier ways to go about curbing something like that. I opted for the brute force technique, where I just put myself in a lot of situations where I knew I would have to be social. I got a job in retail sales, you know, gosh, 2005 maybe, a long time ago now. Um, and over the last 20 years, I estimate conservatively, because at a certain point I stopped counting. I used a little math to help me with this, but I estimate I had probably close to 100,000 conversations, if not more, because I just stopped counting at some point. Because it's like, okay, we
Right,
get it.
right, yeah.
You know,
It's
um,
kind of like watching Strange Brew after 300 or 400 times. You just
yeah,
stop counting.
yeah, and part of that was my hunch is that the speech impediment was largely attributed to, I would just say, nerves in social situations. I guess that's my read on it. Probably someone with a better background would explain something a little bit more scientific. Uh, but for me, I noticed that, hey, yeah, I want to get over this, and by God, I'm going to get over it. And so I'm going to put myself in a lot of interactions to brute force my way through it. So maybe not the most efficient way to do it, but I would say it worked, because now at this point in my life, I'm 39. Sometimes you forget how old you are too. Um, there is just not a social situation that stresses me out in the least. Um, just I think part of that is you grow, and as you get older as a person, you start to realize the stakes are relatively low in
Yeah.
almost every interaction.
Mhm.
But the neat thing for my clients is, I work with all ages, but the average age of my clients are around 31 years old.
Okay.
And for someone who, and I do work occasionally with people even a little younger than that. So I think about that person who's, in their like mid 20s, mid to late 20s. Like, if they get to learn the kind of things that I can teach them, they've got a longer time horizon to execute on it. And man, that's a huge advantage. Like, learning any skill as early as you possibly can learn it, because that really sets them up for success for the long haul.
Absolutely. Speaking of that embarrassment part there, I remember that one of the things that Scott Adams would say is that in order to get over the embarrassment, just go out and embarrass yourself. Just keep doing it until you
Yeah,
just don't become embarrassed anymore. So,
yeah, and
yeah.
and there's just wonderful kind of immunity that you get when whatever you're trying to do, if you can do something in relative public. I say relative public. I think a live stream would fall in that category, right? I started a live show in the mornings, Competence Maxxing Live, and I wanted to build that skill set, um, because I'm always kind of looking for any last scraps of potential embarrassment, and I want to find those scraps and hammer them out, so that I'm immune. And I think what comes with that too is, if you own your own company, and like, there's no one on earth that I answer to, outside of the people that are really important to me, like my really close friends or my wife, and people I really care about, right? But that also gives you kind of a wonderful immunity to the opinions of others, which is nice.
Right. I like it. I like it. So Jeff, we had talked a little bit before the show over email and stuff, and we thought that if you had anything that had in particular that you would like to share with us this evening, that you could go ahead and just have at it for about 20 minutes. Do you want to jump in?
Yeah, so there are a lot of different options on the table for us, and one, I think it would probably be helpful to cover just kind of the broad strokes of one of the first chapters, which is competence maxing, not confidence maxing, competence maxing, because
Okay.
uh, one one of the like the preconceived notions that people have when they hear the word confidence is like, oh, you just have to be confident. And it's like, okay, well, yes, that's true, but what's the mechanism behind becoming more confident? Because what's funny is, yes, my book is about people skills and communication skills. That's where I hang my hat. But I've had people message me and say that they're like losing weight with my book. and
Oh,
like uh just building any kind of skill. Like I've had clients become better at golf, like using some of the stuff, and the reality
okay.
is it's the feeling like you if the end state is I want to be more confident at the skill that I'm building, well, I need to know the roadmap to get to that confidence. And so uh, when it comes to communication skills, a lot of times what people are doing is they are sort of running a mental loop in their head of um, like they're showing themselves frequent proof of their incompetence. And we do this in a few different ways. A really common way is simply you remember an awkward moment from years ago, or you really don't want an awkward moment to happen, so you're kind of trying to avoid it as much as you can, and sometimes that can actually cause an awkward moment. And all of that is just doing one thing. It's uh, reinforcing your own perceived level of incompetence. You're not going to become confident with that loop running. It's not going to happen. So one of the big things that I talk about with my clients is one of the first things to talk about, and I talk about it in the book too, is and I'm cheating by reading a little bit of my book too, even though I wrote it. Sometimes I need a little bit of refresher myself. Uh, there is no confidence without competence, right? Competence is built through consistent action. Consistent action creates automatic improvement. And confidence is simply the ability to predict the outcome of your actions with a high degree of accuracy. Accuracy only comes from a high number of reps. And the final point here that I'll pause is show your mind frequent proof of your own competence, and soon you'll believe the proof. And so, one of the most important things you can do, it really doesn't matter what skill. Um, I just happen to have a deep love for communication and helping people in that arena, but this would apply to something more technical, like if you're starting to get into vibe coding and you want to show yourself frequent proof of your competence. Guess what you have to do? You have to record instances of you being successful at what you're trying to do. The form that this takes with clients is I'll have them write down social wins. Sounds pretty easy. Um, the number one sort of feedback that I get is clients will, and I'll stress this to them, like even something small counts. Saying hi to your doorman counts. Nodding at
Okay.
someone walking the dog, that you've seen a few
Mhm.
times, like that counts, especially in
Saying
the
hi to
beginning.
somebody in the elevator on the way up and wishing them
Yes,
a good day. Sure.
it all counts because the what we need to do is build a solid track record of evidence that we can be successful in whatever skill it is. Right? You can apply this to other skills,
Mhm.
um, and so a lot of times clients will come back to me and they won't count something because they thought it was too easy. And I'm like, no, no, I want you to count that and write it down. Actually, why do we write it down? Because we need to be able to review that social win later. Once a week,
Okay.
we need to be able to thumb through our
So
social
keeping a
wins.
journal, making track, keeping
Yeah,
track, and then referring back
exactly.
and looking at those. Yeah. Okay.
Because it's very easy. There's this baked in. It's a wonderful little feature of the human psyche called the negativity bias. I'm sure you guys are probably familiar with this, where we tend to place a lot more importance on negative things that happen, including wishing them not to happen in the future, than we might place any sort of stickiness around positive things that happen. And it on a certain level, it makes sense, right? Because our cavemen great grandfathers, when they were doing their podcast around the campfire, if they heard a rustling in the bushes, they would think, oh, okay, no, that's really bad. We need to get out of here. They didn't care that it may have been a bunny, Uh,
Mhm.
they were like, okay, maybe let's rejoin the others, right? Um, and so Rick Hansen, PhD, has some really good writing on this, but he says that positive experiences are like Teflon, and negative experiences are like Velcro. And so we have to work extra hard to capture and remember those positive experiences because the way our brains are wired, there's going to be no trouble with us remembering those negative experiences or those feelings of incompetence. But we have to work really hard to remember the positive things. And I'll bring up one more point and then I'll throw it to you guys for reaction. Um, Another really closely related part of that is, say that you have an interaction that goes like 95% well, like it's really good. It's like mostly fantastic. But there's like 5% that maybe something could have gone a little different. You could have told that joke in a different way, or you went for a handshake, but you ended up getting caught between like a fist bump and a handshake and you didn't know what to do. And so what do? You might have a knee jerk reaction to wad up the entire 100%, including the 95% that was great, and then you toss it in the failure bucket. Uh, and you don't need to do that, because you're discounting a mostly good interaction that could serve as great proof in the future
Yeah.
that yes, you are competent. So that was a lot. I'll throw it back to you guys. Any thoughts, questions, or reaction?
Let Stephen have a chance at it first.
So going back to when you were talking about, people tend to focus on the times they mess up. Uh, right before that, at the end of your first chapter as well, you were talking about the difference between wanting and deciding.
Mm,
And I feel like that kind of hit hard too, and relates to some of the stuff that you're talking about with the competence maxing as well. Just of wanting is like daydreaming, and when you decide you're going to do something, that takes your commitment level to an area where you basically can't avoid it, or you don't want to avoid it anymore because you're deciding that you're going to do that. And
mhm.
so uh, the negativity bias that kind of comes not far after that is talking about it can be a protection mechanism, like you were saying for the cavemen, like
Mhm.
let's get out of here and join the others. But uh, for this topic, um, negativity bias can stop you from feeling competence. And I don't know if you feel this way, but uh, the competency it is a big part of feeling confident. And you had talked in your book about people that were really competent at something but hadn't practiced the confidence part. Does that uh was that right, or am I misquoting you on that within the
Yeah,
book?
so that I don't remember writing that specifically, but what I will say is, and actually I wonder what we can do is, I want to share I think this will be fun. I've got it on my X, and what I'll do, uh, I'll DM it to you real quick,
Okay.
because it's a nice little graphic. I will find. I've got it right here.
Well, let's see if I can do this live.
So let's see. I'll send it to you via DM right now, and we'll see if this works. And because I think you bring up a really good point, Stephen, where uh, there's something I didn't write about this in the book because I came up with this after the book, called the confidence roller coaster, where there are different levels of confidence and competence, and what that actually means for um, your journey to become a more confident version of yourself. And so we'll see if we can pull that up. But what I like about it, if you have high high confidence but low competence, that's the Dunning-Kruger zone. you know where we've all met people that have really high confidence but their competence is low, and
Mm, yeah.
if we're being real honest, they shouldn't talk a lot about it because it's not good. um, the next stage is you have higher competence but lower confidence. And that's imposter syndrome, right? Where
Mhm.
you're more capable than you think. And then the third stage is sort of what I call helpful overconfidence, where I did a story on my live show. Yeah, perfect. Uh, and so I did a story on my live show of, if your confidence is just slightly higher than your competence, not done in Kruger zone, but just a little bit higher, that actually increased the performance of people doing some sort of task. I can't remember the exact study. Um, But it got me thinking of like, that's actually the ideal zone is high competence and maybe just a little bit higher confidence that we have. Well, kind of what I call this is we have faith in our ability. Where if putting this in communication terms, if you have 1,000 interactions, you start to you start to recognize patterns and you start to recognize just the general. I think about it kind of like the angle of what most outcomes are going to be. They're going to be uh, almost all in this range. Sure, there could be an outlier here or there, but just probably not. Right? The statistics just aren't supportive of that, and so you end up developing a real faith in your ability. And what's nice about that is you're thinking less in the interaction, and you have a lot more faith in your ability, and so even things that would have tripped someone up if they were less confident because they had less competence, it's not going to trip you up because it's just going to what would be like a massive speed bump to someone is going to feel like a pebble to you because you have a lot of faith in your ability. So any thoughts or reactions there?
Kevin?
I would say that the repetition and keeping at it is definitely key. Like I notice in myself that the first time at something I'm going to suck, and the next time I'm going to suck a little bit less, but pretty much
Yeah.
still suck. And then after a number of times, I'm going to not suck so much at that thing. And I like in your book you point out, you kind of alluded to it too, that you got to take these things one at a time. So if you're trying to pick like a bunch of things to work on and you're confident all at once, then it's going to be a little bit tougher than if you just pick the one thing. So I like the roller coaster illustration. That makes sense to me. I see the value in taking it in that stride. So yeah.
Yeah, and the one point I'll bring up there because you bring up something really important is the more often I do something, the easier it gets. And that's generally true. And what I talk about in the book is something called effort gravity. In chapter, it's a joke on my live stream that like anytime I reference a chapter, I don't know what chapter the thing is because I'm always off by one. Like
So,
I'm always
yeah.
off by one. But it is in chapter 7. See, I was going to say a different chapter. In chapter 7, there's what I call jumping the motivation gap. And so, what most self help type books just don't bother to cover is what do you do when you're trying to improve something, but motivation wanes? To me, that's like the most important thing because if you don't cover that, my goodness, like nothing else matters. And so, one of the concepts I talk about in that chapter is effort gravity. Simply put, the more often you do something, the easier it gets. And so, what that means is if you're learning anything new, understand that it's probably about as hard as it's going to be the first time you do it. That's a that's roughly true. Um, I think about when I started going to the gym and started to work out. Not only did I have to like go to the gym, I had to learn all the lifts because I didn't know how to do the lifts. I needed to execute the lifts correctly. I was trying to gain muscle, so I had to like stick to my diet plan. And there's all these new behaviors, and in the beginning it was tough. But 6 months later, 8 months later, I wasn't even thinking about it because it was just automatic, right? And so anything you can do to just, and I think it's really helpful for people to understand because I feel like a lot of people don't understand where they'll think, oh, it's always gonna be this hard because like a straight line sort of a fallacy, right? Instead of thinking, hey, it's gonna get easier every single time I do it. So why not keep doing it?
Kevin, you might be muted.
We got some dramatic silence there.
I see red under your picture. Uh, looks like it hard muted in Rumble. If you take too long, I'll jump in because I do have a comment and a
Yeah,
question.
yeah, go ahead.
Go ahead, Steve. Now, but I don't know what muted me. Something did, but since you have another question, take it.
Oh, we were just going back. I've been thinking this whole time. I've just been like silent, but the competence with the confidence, the roller coaster that you had, the imposter syndrome. I've always been someone that's been doing stuff, and I'm always a little bit less educated or certified than the people surrounding me. So that's always kind of led to, do I have the competence to do this? But I have confidence in myself to learn something new and to jump in and kind of be fearless and dive in head first. But I don't always understand or feel confident about the certification or education I have. And something that I've learned from doing that over and over again is usually certification and education helps people get somewhere quicker, uh, but having the skill and the repetition and doing things over and over again and taking those chances and taking opportunities usually gets me to where I want to be quicker. And it's more of like you're saying, like don't let the bad experience stray you, because it's not always going to be that way. Of doing something over and over, like you said, working out at the gym. uh yeah, if and when I do take a year or two off of lifting weights, like those, that first week is terrible. It's like, oh man, I can barely like sit down on the couch without feeling so much pain. So there is, I do like that you uh like continue to repeat the repetition. You can just do things, like you can do things, and there's nothing stopping you really from just doing something and creating that opportunity. It's all around you. It's more of the fear that you have that's going to hold you back. So
Yeah,
that did speak a lot to me.
yeah, my favorite meme that has become more popular, people are using it a lot more, is I'll call him the simple person and the hooded figure, and then the over optimizer in the middle, where I I guess maybe the actual title for it is like the midwit bell curve, something like that, where uh, usually it's you can just do things on one side, you can just do things on the other side, and in the middle is like I need to do these 7 things and I need to wait for the right time, and it's all this stuff, right? And my only goal in life is to be on either of the other sides. I don't care. Like it might be the simple side. I'm fine with that. you know, like I just want to be uh and and most of what I talk about with clients, actually, the people that I try to help are people who are overthinkers that tend to just overanalyze, overthink, and sometimes over optimize a lot of different areas of their lives, when really what they need is to paradoxically, they need to set up a system where they think less in interactions, thinking less, especially thinking less about yourself in an interaction, is gonna make it way better. One of the worst things, and probably listeners will catch themselves in this. If you do, that's fine. Um, if you've ever caught yourself giving yourself a sort of a report card or grades of how an interaction is going while you're in the interaction, guess what? You're going to have a real bad time. And so you just don't need to do it. Um, what's much better is really externalizing, right? And thinking, well, how can I be a good listener? How can I focus on asking questions from the other person and getting to know them a little bit better? That's going to set the right frame, which is much better than just thinking like, oh, I wonder what they think about me or whatever. Like, no, you're going to have a terrible time. The joke I use with my clients is simply that everyone who's giving themselves a evaluation in an interaction, no one's thinking to themselves, I'm doing so great, my goodness. They're just not thinking that. They're thinking like, oh, you're so stupid, or the inner jerk that I talk about in the book is showing up and whispering things to them that they would never allow anyone else to whisper to them. And it's a it's a it can be a real problem.
Yeah. Um, that inner critic is definitely alive inside of me. It constantly nags at me, and I've had an easier time over the years as I just kind of start to just say, "Go away," get out of here. Because the thing for me is, I keep thinking that other people are thinking about my interactions with them all the time. It's me that's thinking about them all the time. The other person's moved on.
Yep.
They're done, and so going back and correcting the interaction, that's not the right idea, because you're only going to make it worse if you try to correct it and say, "Oh, I didn't really mean that," or whatever, that might have sounded weird. Don't try to correct it. Just make sure the next interaction's better.
Mhm.
But that's kind of the thing, is that people move on so quickly and they forget so quickly, and they're also so self-absorbed anyway that they're not thinking about you.
Nope.
Sorry, they're just not, so
And yeah, a
that's
couple of
that.
points on that actually is one is I've asked this question to every client. Can you tell me about a time when you observed someone being awkward, and can you describe it to me in detail? And guess what? Only once have I ever had anyone be able to even answer it. Everyone
Yeah.
else is like, I don't know, To the one person that had something, I asked them, well, what did you think about that person? What did you feel? And they're like, well, I really just felt empathy, because I was like,
Yeah.
anyone could push the door when it's really a pull. It could have happened to me. Like, it could have happened to anyone, right? So that's point one. Point two is, um, can I walk you through the movie poster reframe? Yeah. So
Yeah.
the I don't I'm almost certain this is not in the book. So this is a Persuasion
Okay.
Club exclusive for doing the
Awesome.
movie. So I call it the movie poster reframe, and it goes like this: picture yourself walking past a wall at the front of a movie theater. You've got all these different movie posters, and the first one you come across is your movie poster, right? It and in the style of a lot of movie posters, it's got the floating heads and maybe a little bit of action in there, whatever it is. Guess who the biggest head is on the movie poster? It's you, because it's your movie, right? Now, if you have a spouse or a significant other, they might be on there too, probably a little smaller head, right? Uh, your buddies might be towards the bottom. Maybe even a coworker or two might even be on there. There might be some names at the bottom. People that you know that aren't super close, but they're there. Um, so that's your movie poster. You walk a little further and say it's your significant other's movie poster. Well, now the biggest head is that person. Your head is now a little smaller, and all of their friends and maybe some of your mutual friends are on there too, and there are different names at the bottom. Okay, well, you walk a little further, you get to a really good friend's movie poster. You look at the biggest head. Well, it's your friend. The second biggest head, it's their spouse. Their kids are at the bottom. You might be on there, maybe, but you might be one of the names at the bottom. And then you go a little further, and you just happen upon someone that you've met, but you're not close to or anything like that. You scan all over it. You're not on that movie poster, and you're not on most people's movie posters. And this is good news, actually, because most people aren't on your movie poster either. And so I like that, because it kind of reminds me that we are the most important person in our own movie, and everyone is that way to varying degrees. And it's freeing, because if I do mess up, which if you have more interactions, your total number of awkward moments is probably going to increase, but your percentage of awkward moments is going to decrease because your skills get better. So this is a very freeing thing, because it frees you up to try, and it frees you up from the expectations of others and the opinions of others. So any any thoughts? How do you guys like the Persuasion Club exclusive there?
I think it's
I like it a
excellent.
lot.
I might actually have to use that one in a clip video, if you wouldn't mind, Jeff.
Yeah. Yeah, do it.
So, yeah, perfect. We do that all the time. We're always thinking about what other people are thinking of us, and the movies that they're watching are completely different movies than we're even watching. So it makes perfect sense. Hey, well, we have a little bit of time left here, and I thought maybe we would try to play a little bit of our game, if you wouldn't mind playing along with us, Jeff.
Let's do it.
Yeah,
Hey,
Stephen,
hey,
I'm going to give you control here in a minute, but I'll start us off. Let me go
okay.
ahead and flip us over here to the screen. Oops, come on. You know you want to. Do you have the link to control the game there?
Yes, I do.
You
I've
do.
got it up and running. Uh,
Uh, Well,
Do you? Oh, screen went black, but I
when
have the game pulled up.
yeah, let me see if I can get it to go here. It's not behaving for me at the moment. Strangely,
It'll get there.
it might not get there.
If it won't get there,
I'm
I still have questions for Jeff. So if
Yeah,
we can't run
we
the
can do an
game,
audio only version of the game.
yeah,
Who wants to be a
the
blindfolded
audio
millionaire?
only. Yeah, who wants to be blindfolded? Why don't you go ahead and ask your question, and I'll get it working here, Stephen, because I can do that while you're talking with Jeff. So let me go back to this other
yeah. Now,
screen here, one of these, and you can ask your question.
yeah. When it comes to encouraging someone to continue trying things that they may be having a bad experience at, is there, and not to dive too deep into, getting some free coaching that you may usually not give for
You
free,
know what? Dive
but
in. It's cool.
yeah,
Dive in.
yeah, because for me, I usually operate with the fact that as long as my intentions are good, I can pretty much do anything guilt free because I really mean the best. But and that's helped me through a lot of failures because I do experience failure, but I've always kind of been a person that believes in like the fail forward kind of, for the most part, mentality. But what is something core that you encourage people who do continue to fail and maybe aren't seeing the improvement as quickly as the lack of improvement is also discouraging? So is there something that you usually kind of give to people that are experiencing that?
Well, I would actually take a step back and think about it in terms of are you playing a game that you can win consistently, like ideally that you can win every single day. That's a much better game to play than a game in which you only feel like you win at some point in the future because you've achieved X, Y, and Z, right? Um, I think I may give this example in the book where, like, say your goal is to make a friend. It's like, okay, well, that's a good goal. That's a fine goal. But here's the thing: you will be in a losing state until you actually make that friend. If you're having conversations every single day, you're going to feel like you're in a winning state. And actually, now that I'm thinking about it, I think actually one of the items on the 20 lessons that took me 20 years to learn ah has the perfect thing. Number 17. I'll read this to you. Focusing on outcomes keeps you stuck in a losing state because you only win when you get the result. Focusing on effort keeps you in a winning state because you win every time you put in effort. And so I think about that a lot in terms of um, whenever you're improving something, is it likely that at some point along the line you might encounter some sort of plateau? Yeah, I mean that's absolutely possible. Um, if I've set up the system correctly, then every day I'm taking an action that I can be proud of, that I like, that makes me feel good. And if I string enough of those together, in my opinion at least, you may not even notice the plateaus, even though they may happen, because you're focusing on something a little bit smaller than what is my overall trajectory. What's my overall trajectory? It's more of, hey, I know I'm doing something every single day that is sort of upstream from the result that I want. And then over time, the result will take care of itself. But the difference, and I'll get your opinion on this, the difference is you'll feel like you're winning the entire time instead of only feeling like you're winning once at the end. Any comment or feedback there?
I like it. I feel like you said, focusing on outcomes keeps you stuck. Focusing on the effort it keeps you winning. Uh, I do like that a lot. I feel like the fact that people give up on things is sometimes really sad to see. Oh, not sometimes. Most times, it's really hard to see people give up on something that they had bad experience or a slightly bad experience, when it's like you could just keep trying and eventually like you will overcome that, or you will get to where I think you should be or you want to be. So that totally resonates. I really like that a lot. So that's a good lesson.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah. Looks like
All
we got
right.
it
Well,
up.
as you can see, we've got the
Hey,
screen working here. So
okay.
we'll go ahead and pretend like we're running a game show here. So,
Always wanted to
Jeff,
be on
you
a
can
game show.
actually be the host if you want and ask the questions. And Stephen and I have fun actually trying to answer them. So
All right.
we don't have the answers in front of us. We don't know. So let's just
It,
see what the system gives us. It may work, it may not.
hey, all right.
Okay. So the scenario is you walk into a meeting and your brain starts narrating your every flaw. Which roadmap lesson applies first?
So we have
Okay,
leave immediately to protect
go
your
ahead and read
brand.
those if you want, Stephen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Memorize a monologue in the bathroom. C, wait until you feel zero anxiety. Or D, shift attention outward. The room has cues if you look.
Hmm.
Oh my goodness. Um, well, I think that C is not a good answer. B is not a good answer. Um,
Leaving immediately
A
to
is
protect your
not a good
brand.
answer.
You got to protect your brand, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
uh, One
So,
second. I'll be right back. One sec.
Okay.
You're on
So
you're on the
I'm
hot
going
seat.
to think, shifting attention outward. Yeah. He just left. How can you do that
Maybe he's phoning a friend. You don't
during a
know.
show, man? You don't do that on Millionaire.
Nope, nope.
Sorry,
Sorry.
Regis. Just lit,
The door knocked and I had to
Yeah, phoning
dismute.
a friend,
Sorry about that. Yeah.
asking that's what he's doing. That's all right,
So
Steven.
All right, I need your final
We're just
answers.
laughing. We're giving you a bad time.
I'm thinking
I don't know.
D. Is that what you're thinking, Kevin?
That is correct.
I am thinking D.
All right.
All right.
Nice.
All
Yay.
right.
Okay.
Next question. Why do interactions improve when attention is focused outward rather than inward? A, inward focus makes you telepathic. B, outward focus means never preparing. C, inward focus is always superior. D, you pick up cues, topics, and energy instead of grading yourself.
All right. Uh Outward focus means never preparing. I- I'm not sure about that.
Steven,
Oh,
let's talk this through.
am I glitching?
He looks
Can you
like a
hear me, Kevin?
possible answer in the sense that, what? You're not, I can hear you.
Okay.
Can you hear
Good.
me?
Yes.
Now I
I think
can.
there was some lag there.
Okay, now I can. Yeah. Okay. So I'm saying that telepathy is kind of like not an option. So A is not an option. How does that work for you, Steven?
Yeah, I don't believe it. No,
No.
telepathic is not going to work.
Yeah, okay. Just making sure. Uh,
Yeah.
B, outward focus means never preparing. I think that that's if you do have an outward focus, then you probably might be that. That could be a potential choice. Um, why do interactions improve when attention is focused outward rather than inward? No, I don't like that. Inward focus is
So
always superior.
we
D.
we were talking earlier about being inside of your head during an interaction is really bad because no one's ever sitting there thinking how good you're doing. So rather than focusing on the inside of what you're thinking, I'm feeling D because you're picking up on what's going on in the conversation rather than spending all the time thinking about how bad you're doing. So that's kind of where I'm
Boom.
leaning.
Let's do it.
All right, you lock it
Okay,
in. And that is
lock
correct.
it in. All right. Good.
Awesome.
All right, next.
Right.
Which is an example of internal focus during a conversation? A, did I sound weird just now? B, what follow up fits what he just said? C, what is she enthusiastic about? D, what detail in the room could I talk about? Again, the question is, what is an example of internal focus during a conversation?
All right.
I
I know
I
the
have
answer, but do you know the answers?
I know immediately the A just was like, oh yeah, for sure. So in my head, I was just thinking A for sure. That's what do you think, Kevin?
I'm thinking A. Yeah, that's
Lock it in.
that's a, yeah. Lock it in. Let's do it.
That is correct.
Yes,
All
awesome.
right.
Hey, we're nailing
How much
this.
money are we up to now, Stephen? Let's see how much money we've
Oh,
made so far in this
oh,
game.
I advanced too
Oh,
quickly. I
we'll
can't
catch it in
show
the
the
next one.
ladder. I'll do it next. I'll
Yeah,
do it next.
Next
yeah.
question.
All
Why
right.
is being genuinely interested in others often more valuable than trying to be interesting? A, being interesting means talking only about yourself. B, interest only works on extroverts. C, interest is passive and requires no skill. D, people feel seen, which builds connection faster than performing.
I'd say D.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I agree with D in my because in my head, A, being interesting means talking only about yourself. I'm like, I don't know if I excuse me, agree with that sentence, and I was getting stuck on it. So,
Yeah.
but I do think that D seems to make the most sense when we're talking
For
about.
for
Uh,
being genuinely interested. Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
All right.
Are you good with
D,
that?
lock it in.
Let's see what happens.
That is correct.
All right. Okay, let's look at the ladder
All
before we go
right.
too far.
Yeah, and I need to be kind to our guest here. Do you have time for this, Jeff, or do you need
Yeah,
to get going?
I got time.
Okay, cool. All right. Let's go ahead and
All
get that
right,
next question then.
we're on question 5.
Ooh.
Persuasion Club trap. You try to dazzle the room with clever monologues. Jeff's roadmap would say A, talk louder until applause happens. I like that one. That's pretty good. B, prepare 17 TED Talks in advance. C,
Mm.
never let anyone else speak. Or D, ask better questions and get interested. Dazzle is optional.
This one's kind of an easy one. I think we're gonna I would choose D. Yeah. What about you,
You're
Stephen?
feeling D? I'm feeling D. I don't agree
I'm
with any
feeling
of the others.
You're
So.
feeling D. Yeah.
Let's lock it in. That is correct.
Green. Woohoo. Okay.
All right.
Okay.
Okay.
Hey, this is good. This is good.
All right, next. What does it mean that you only control 50% of a conversation?
Oh, I know this one. I just
A,
listened to it like
you
2
should
hours ago.
you should control 100% by dominating. B, conversations are entirely random. C, you own your words and energy, the other person owns theirs. Or D, you control every outcome if you try hard enough.
Oh, D actually is kind of a good answer. I don't know if
If
I would
only it were
choose that or
true.
not, but it seems like a good
Yeah,
answer.
if only.
And
Yeah.
A is looking pretty good too. But I'm gonna Stephen, I need to give you a chance. Let's hear your answer here.
I'm going with C because you only own your own words and the other person owns theirs. That's how I approach a lot of conversations or like even like if you had a partner in school that you're working with and the two of you own part of an essay or something, it's like, yeah, I can only own my contribution.
Yep.
Yeah, let's do it. Let's finally
Lock it
answer
in.
that bad boy.
All right.
Yeah.
That is
Locking
correct.
it in.
All right.
There we go.
Now, well, I was going to make some kind of a comment along the, but now I already forgot what it was. Go ahead and continue.
How
I'm just
can
clicking to
accepting the 50% rule improve conversations? A, it reduces over control and frees you to contribute your half well. B, it proves preparation is useless. C, it requires scripts for both halves. D, it means you should blame the other person for everything.
Yeah, it's perfect. That's what you should do. So what I was going to say, and it kind of really goes along with this, is that in my opinion, if you know that you only control 50% of the conversation, then that means you have to make your 50% count. So um, let's see. It reduces over control, frees you to contribute to your half well. That sounds good.
Yeah.
Um,
I like that.
and I'm going to say that's probably it. Yeah. Hmm.
Let's lock it
All
in.
right. Let's do it. And then one sec, I think my side of the world is lagging here. I think this the game is making my whole
Oh, is the
world
game
feel like it's
control getting a little
crashing.
slow?
Yeah, I think
Oh,
I'm about
yeah,
5
that's
seconds behind you
I don't know.
guys. I'm sorry.
If you need
But
to, you can refresh the browser, and it helps you a little bit too. Oh, but don't refresh your
but I
stream.
can't.
Yeah. Okay, go
Yeah.
ahead.
But I'm gonna
Go for
reveal
it.
it says that we're right there. So woohoo.
Yeah.
Now, I'll read the next question maybe, and I'll let Jeff and Kevin do the
Okay.
answering. So I'll do all the narration for this next one, and then I can just not
Okay.
talk because I think I'm way behind. Okay. So how can treating someone like a friend help create friendship? We have A, it removes the need for follow-up. B, warmth and familiarity signal that closeness is possible. C, it means oversharing secrets on day one always. And D, it guarantees that they will never reject you.
As the author, I have hidden insight and superpowers, and so I'm gonna let Kevin give his option, and then
Oh
I'll
man.
I'll chime in.
Okay. Well, and I see that we're at question 8. So, and I feel like I know the answer, but let's make sure that on the next one that we use some of those lifelines to get the audience interaction if we can. How can treating someone like a friend help create friendship? I don't think it's A, because removing the need for follow up doesn't seem like something that you would do with a friend. B, warmth and familiarity signal that closeness is possible. That seems kind of nice, and I would probably say that that would be a good contender. C, it means oversharing secrets on day one always. Ain't gonna do that. And D, it guarantees they will never reject you. Well, nothing is ever a guarantee. So B is my final answer.
I like it. I concur.
All right. And then maybe, after it lets me click these things, I can go back to helping converse the answers here. But that does, I mean, if the author says it's correct, I think we're turning green here. There we go.
We are. There it is.
Oh my gosh. My computer is like,
Yeah.
I don't know what's happening, but I'm being harvested.
H-
Something
Hang
as
on just a
Bitcoin
second here,
mining on
Stephen, and
on
see
my
if I
build
can
here.
hang on a second here and see if I can take over control of the game. Oh shit! It's
Oh, we only have 2
wanting me to
questions left.
log
So
in.
I think I
Okay,
can make it.
you want to see if we
I'm
can
just
just make it
gonna
through? Let's power through. All right,
Yeah, I'll try not to
let's
talk over
power
you too
through it.
much.
Okay, but we're gonna use those lifelines. By golly, go ahead.
Okay, I'll let Jeff, if you want to go ahead and read, I'll join
Okay.
back on trying to answer.
What is a risk of treating someone like a friend too quickly? A, you may misread readiness and move faster than they want. B, you will definitely become best friends instantly. C, there are no risks, only rewards. Or D, friendship becomes legally binding.
Well, that'd be crazy.
All right. Well, let's go ahead and ask the audience on this one, then, shall we?
Hey, that is a good one. I will arm the poll for 90 seconds. We have a website you can go to, vote.persuasion.club. You can put in your vote. And but you have to visit that site on a new window if you go away from this current one. And I'll start the countdown now. For those of you listening, vote.persuasion.club. Let's see how many people are going to give us their input.
You might get in trouble for using this music, but we'll fix
Anyone can vote, but not everyone can use this music. We'll see. We found that using a little bit more time lets people load the website and get their vote in. So hopefully that's happening.
We got one vote.
Great. Yes. Well, I guess I'm way behind. 20 more seconds left.
It's about right. You're not that far behind.
Yeah.
Okay, we're almost there. We're going to see the results here. Hey.
All right.
We got to vote for D.
Friendship becomes legally binding.
Ooh. Someone.
100% of the audience thinks that, according to the votes.
Interesting.
Yeah, right. They must be right. What did Scott say about the 25%? I'm wondering if that might be a 25%er. No, we're not going with that one. I'm sorry.
But I do feel like A seems to make the most sense, because if you start viewing and treating them like a friend before that's apparent or clear in the relationship, definitely can get on people's awkward or weird side really quick for moving too fast. So
I concur.
That's kind of how I'm feeling.
Agreed.
All right, let's lock it in. It's doing it. It's getting there. The music has told us.
The music is a clue.
I cued the music ahead of the reveal.
So I've clicked the button. It's taken its time. So we're at the last question here.
Yeah.
And there we go. It did it.
Yeah.
But we are we're going to
cool.
see
let's do this. We're almost rich.
Yeah, we're almost there.
Why does focusing exclusively on outcomes create a losing mindset? A, outcomes are always immediate. B, outcomes are the only thing that matter. C, effort is irrelevant to growth. Or D, you cannot fully control outcomes, so you set yourself up to fail.
Would you like to use a 50-50, Kevin?
Exclusively. Well, yeah. I mean, it's there, right?
Might as well.
Let's use the 50-50 and get rid of half of that. So there we go. So okay, so it's either B or D. And I do not agree with B. So I have to go D.
I do not either.
I concur.
I'm with you.
All right.
Wow. Lock it in.
Lock it in. It's thinking. It's still thinking.
Baby.
It's revealing. The reveal is almost here. It's the final question. So here we go.
This is too funny. There we
go.
There it is.
All right.
$1.
We earned a whole $1. Congratulations.
Easiest dollar I've ever earned.
Yeah. Those questions.
What is this good stuff,
like,
though? I had a lot of fun. Yeah.
Yeah. For having read the book and talking to the author, those questions really just were a breeze. So that felt good. I feel like I'm not sweating too hard, thinking too hard.
I like it.
Yeah. That worked out pretty well. Sometimes with the technology, the things don't always work out the way they would hope, but tonight it wasn't so bad, and we really appreciate you coming on the show.
Yeah, absolutely.
Here, we're going to go ahead and play off here in the New and After show, for which you are very welcome to hang out with us, Jeff. In fact, we hope you do. And then we just want to say thanks for everybody for showing up and joining us tonight. Again, with us tonight is best-selling author Jeff Callahan of Competence Maxxing. You can get your copy on Amazon today. We'll be back next week, Sunday night at 6 o'clock. We hope you'll join us then. Until that time, thanks for hanging out with us.
Thank you so much. Thanks for being on the show, Jeff.
Absolutely.
Oh, cracking a new one, Kevin, huh? What you cracking open?
Not a beer. Root beer.
Great.